Sarah Chen pressed her face against the observation deck's reinforced glass, watching the morning sun paint the settlement's outer walls in golden light. New Harmony stretched below her like a metal flower blooming in the alien soil of Kepler 442b. 3 years of backbreaking work had transformed this rocky wasteland into humanity's first permanent foothold beyond Earth's solar system. Beautiful sight, isn't it? Director Marcus Webb joined her at the window, his coffee steaming in the recycled air. Hard to believe we've come this far? Sarah nodded, adjusting her tablet to review the daily reports. As head of settlement security, she knew every weakness in their defenses, every blind spot in their sensor grid. The colonists trusted her to keep them safe, but some nights she wondered if they truly understood how far they were from any help. The nearest Earth ship was 18 months away. If something went wrong here, they would face it alone. "Morning patrol reports are clean," she told Webb. "No movement beyond the perimeter. The local wildlife seems to be adapting to our presence." Webb smiled. "Dr. Patel says the ecosystem here is remarkably stable. No predators large enough to threaten the settlement. We picked a good spot." Sarah's tablet chimed with an incoming message from the outer sensor stations. She frowned at the readings. "That's strange. Station 7 is picking up seismic activity to the northeast. Small tremors, but regular. Almost like footsteps. Could be geological. This planet's crust is still settling." Before Sarah could respond, her tablet exploded with alerts. Red warnings flashed across the screen as every sensor station around the settlement triggered simultaneously. The emergency klaxon began wailing, its harsh sound echoing through the corridors. "All stations report massive movement converging on the settlement," Sarah shouted over the alarm. "Multiple contacts, size unknown. They're coming from all directions." Webb's face went pale. "That's impossible. Our scouts mapped everything within 50 kilometers. There's nothing out there that could threaten us." Sarah was already running toward the command center, Webb close behind. The settlement's main screens showed a nightmare in motion. Hundreds of red dots swarmed toward them across the digital map, moving with purpose and intelligence. "Get me visual confirmation," Sarah barked at the technician manning the external cameras. The main screen flickered, then resolved into an image that made everyone in the command center freeze. Massive creatures bounded across the rocky terrain toward New Harmony, their movements coordinated like a military assault. Each beast stood 12 feet tall at the shoulder, with thick armor plating covering their bodies and razor-sharp claws that tore chunks of stone from the ground with each stride. "What are those things?" Webb whispered. "Unknown species," the science officer reported, his voice shaking. "Nothing in our database matches these creatures. They appear to be heavily armored, carnivorous, and moving in organized groups. Estimated approach time, 12 minutes. Sarah felt her training take over, pushing down the fear that threatened to paralyze her thoughts. "All security teams to defensive positions. Activate the perimeter shields. Send a distress signal to Earth Command." "Shields at maximum power," came the response from engineering. "But Sarah, these barriers were designed to keep out radiation and small debris. I don't know if they'll stop something like that." The creatures kept coming, their numbers growing with each passing minute. Sarah counted at least 300 beasts, all converging on the settlement with deadly precision. They moved in perfect formation, splitting into groups that would hit the perimeter from multiple angles simultaneously. "This isn't random," she realized aloud. "They're coordinated, intelligent. This is a planned attack." As if responding to her words, the creatures suddenly stopped their advance just outside the settlement's sensor range. They held position, creating a perfect circle around New Harmony, waiting. "Why did they stop?" Webb asked. The answer came from above. The settlement's atmospheric sensors detected multiple objects entering the planet's upper atmosphere. On the long-range scanner, new contacts appeared, ships, sleek and angular, nothing like human technology. Alien vessels, the communications officer reported. 3 ships medium size. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Sarah felt her blood run cold as understanding dawned. Those creatures aren't from this planet. They were brought here. This is an invasion. The lead alien ship descended through the atmosphere, its hull shimmering with an energy field that deflected the planet's harsh radiation. It settled onto the ground just beyond the creature army, close enough for the settlement's cameras to capture every detail. The ship was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Its design suggested a civilization far older and more advanced than humanity. Flowing curves merged with angular weapon mounts, and strange symbols glowed along its hull like living light. A hatch opened in the ship's side, and figures emerged that Sarah's mind struggled to process. They stood 7 feet tall, with elongated limbs and heads that seemed too large for their bodies. Their skin had a metallic sheen, and their movements were graceful despite their alien anatomy. "First contact," Webb breathed. "This is first contact with an intelligent alien species." But Sarah knew this wasn't the peaceful meeting humanity had dreamed of. The creatures surrounding them, the coordinated attack patterns, the timing, everything screamed hostile intent. One of the aliens stepped forward and raised what was clearly a communication device. The settlement's speakers crackled to life, filled with sounds that made Sarah's teeth ache. Then slowly the alien sounds resolved into words she could understand. Primitive humans of the settlement called New Harmony. The voice was mechanical, translated by some advanced technology. "You have claimed territory that belongs to the Vorthak Empire. You will evacuate this world within 1 solar rotation, or you will be removed by force." Sarah grabbed the communication controls. "This is Sarah Chen, Security Chief of New Harmony. This planet showed no signs of intelligent life when we arrived. We followed all protocols for planetary settlement. We have as much right to be here as you do." The alien's response carried a tone that might have been amusement. "Rights? You speak of rights? Your species has existed for mere moments compared to our empire. We have been traveling between stars since before your world grew its first forests. This system belongs to us, as do all systems in this galactic region." "If that's true, why didn't you stop us from settling here?" Sarah demanded. "We've been here for 3 years. We were occupied with other matters, but now we return to find vermin infesting our territory. The hunting beasts you see surrounding your settlement are trained killers, bred for war across 1,000 worlds. They have never failed to break a defensive position. You have 1 rotation to gather your people and leave. If you remain, we will release the beasts, and your settlement will become their feeding ground." The communication ended with a harsh, static burst. Sarah stared at the screens showing the motionless army of creatures, each one capable of tearing through steel with its claws. 300 of them against 800 colonists, most of whom had never seen combat. "Options," she said grimly to her security team. "Our weapons are designed for construction work and small predator defense," Lieutenant Torres reported. "We've got mining charges that could take out a few of those things, but not nearly enough for the whole pack. The perimeter shields won't hold them," Engineering Chief Yamamoto added. "Those creatures look like they could punch through reinforced steel. Our barriers are meant for environmental protection, not military defense." Webb stepped forward, his face pale but determined. "We could evacuate. The transport ships have enough capacity for essential personnel and equipment. We could relocate to another system." Sarah felt anger building in her chest. 3 years of work, of sacrifice, of dreams. The first human settlement beyond their solar system, and these aliens wanted to destroy it because they claimed ownership of worlds they had never even visited. "No," she said firmly. "We don't abandon New Harmony. This is our home now. There has to be another way." Dr. Patel, the settlement's lead xenobiologist, spoke up from her workstation. I've been analyzing the scanner data from those creatures. Their biology is fascinating, clearly engineered for maximum lethality. But there's something else. The neural activity patterns I'm detecting suggest they're not just trained killers, they're controlled, probably through some kind of technological interface. What does that mean for us? Sarah asked. If we could disrupt their control signal, we might be able to turn them against their masters, but we'd need to understand the technology first, and we don't have time for that kind of research. Sarah studied the tactical display, her mind racing through possibilities. The aliens had given them one day, 24 hours to come up with a solution that didn't exist. Their weapons were inadequate, their defenses insufficient, and their options limited. But surrender wasn't an option, not after everything they'd sacrificed to build this place. Get me a connection to Earth, she ordered. Emergency priority. Maybe the brass has some classified toys they haven't told us about. As her team worked frantically to establish the long-range communication, Sarah watched the alien beasts maintain their perfect perimeter. They didn't move, didn't hunt, didn't even appear to breathe heavily despite their run across the rocky terrain. Perfect living weapons, waiting for the order to kill. The hours crawled by as New Harmony's residents struggled to comprehend their situation. Some argued for evacuation, others for negotiation, but Sarah knew in her gut that the aliens had no intention of letting them leave peacefully. The Vorthak Empire didn't send war beasts to escort refugees to safety. By evening, Earth's response finally came through the quantum relay. Admiral Foster's weathered face appeared on the command center's main screen, his expression grim. Sarah, I've reviewed your situation reports. I wish I had better news, but the nearest military assets are 16 months out. You're on your own until then. Sarah felt her last hope crumble. There has to be something, Admiral. Some contingency plan, some classified weapon system we don't know about. Foster was quiet for a long moment, then leaned closer to his camera. There is something, but it's not what you think. Sarah, what do you know about the Prometheus Protocol? Never heard of it. Classified above your level, but circumstances call for exceptions. When we started the colonial program, we knew settlements might face threats we couldn't predict or prepare for. The Prometheus Protocol was our insurance policy. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of insurance policy? Every colonial ship carries special cargo in its deep storage bays. Section 777 of your ship specifically. You'll need Director Webb's authorization codes to access it. Webb stepped forward, his face puzzled. Admiral, I've reviewed every manifest. Section 777 is listed as emergency medical supplies. Foster's smile was cold as winter. That's what we wanted you to think. Sarah, you'll find the real contents much more practical for your current situation. But be warned, once you open that section, there's no going back. The Prometheus Protocol exists because sometimes, to protect humanity, we have to embrace things that would horrify us in peacetime. The transmission ended, leaving Sarah and Webb staring at each other in confusion and growing dread. What could be so dangerous that Earth's government would hide it even from the colony's director? We need to see what's in that storage section, Sarah said finally. Whatever it is, it's our only chance. As they made their way through the settlement's corridors toward the storage bays, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to cross a line that would change everything. Outside, the alien beasts waited in perfect silence, and overhead, the Vorthak ships hung like dark omens against the alien stars. Whatever humanity had hidden in Section 777, Sarah prayed it would be enough to save New Harmony. But Foster's warning echoed in her mind. Sometimes, to protect humanity, they had to embrace things that would horrify them in peacetime. The storage bay doors loomed ahead, and beyond them, secrets that might determine whether humanity's first colony would survive its first real test among the stars. The massive doors of Section 777 groaned open after Webb entered his authorization codes, revealing a space that should have contained medical supplies and emergency equipment. Instead, Sarah found herself staring into a chamber that looked more like a military research facility than a storage bay. Rows of cylindrical containers lined the walls, each one the size of a coffin and filled with a glowing blue fluid. Thick cables ran between the containers and banks of monitoring equipment that hummed with barely contained power. The air itself seemed to vibrate with an energy that made Sarah's skin crawl. "What is all this?" Webb whispered, his face pale in the eerie blue glow. Sarah approached the nearest container, her breath catching as she saw what floated inside the preservation fluid. The creature was humanoid, but wrong in every way that mattered. 8 feet tall with corded muscles that looked like steel cables wrapped in gray flesh. Its hands ended in claws that could tear through armor plating, and its skull was elongated to accommodate a brain that was clearly larger than human normal. But the most disturbing feature was its eyes. Even suspended in the preservation fluid, even clearly unconscious, those eyes held an intelligence that was unmistakably human. "Jesus Christ," Webb breathed. Were those human? A wall panel flickered to life at their approach, displaying a holographic interface that recognized their biometric signatures. Admiral Foster's voice emerged from speakers hidden throughout the chamber. "Authorization confirmed. Sarah Chen and Marcus Webb accessing Prometheus protocol materials. Beginning automated briefing." The lights dimmed, and holographic displays filled the air around them, showing images and data streams that made Sarah's stomach lurch. Genetic modification charts, neural enhancement procedures, behavioral conditioning protocols that read more like torture manuals than scientific documents. "The Prometheus protocol represents humanity's answer to the Fermi paradox," Foster's recorded voice continued. "If the universe is filled with life, why haven't we encountered it? The answer, our xenobiologists theorized, was simple. Space is a hostile environment where only the most adaptable and dangerous species survive long enough to become spacefaring civilizations." Sarah watched in horror as the holographic displays showed the process of creating the creatures floating in the containers. They started human, volunteers from Earth's military forces, but each stage of the modification process stripped away more of their humanity and replaced it with something designed for war. The soldiers you see here volunteered for experimental enhancement programs, believing they were helping to create super soldiers for colony defense. What they actually became was something far more necessary. Humanity's hidden apex predators, designed to match any threat we might encounter among the stars. Webb sank into a nearby chair, his face green. "They're abominations. We turned our own people into monsters." The briefing continued remorselessly. "Each enhanced soldier has been conditioned to respond to specific threat scenarios. The hunters excel at tracking and eliminating organized enemy forces. The berserkers specialize in breaking defensive positions through overwhelming aggression. The shadows are designed for stealth operations and assassination. And the titans—" The display showed a creature even larger than the others, its body modified beyond human recognition. "The titans exist to kill things that conventional weapons cannot harm." Sarah felt sick, but she forced herself to focus on the tactical information. Outside, 300 alien war beasts waited to slaughter her people. Personal ethics were a luxury they couldn't afford. "How many?" she asked the computer system. "Section 777 contains 48 enhanced soldiers across all specialization categories. 12 hunters, 12 berserkers, 12 shadows, and 12 titans. All units are in optimal condition and can be activated within 30 minutes. Activated? They're alive? Enhanced soldiers exist in a state of metabolic suspension until needed. The awakening process stimulates their neural pathways and floods their systems with combat stimulants. Once activated, They will seek out and eliminate any threat to the colonial settlement with extreme prejudice. Sarah studied the creatures floating in their containers. Each one had been human once, with families and dreams and hopes for the future. Now they were weapons wrapped in flesh, waiting to be unleashed upon humanity's enemies. "What's the catch?" Webb asked quietly. "There's always a catch with something like this." The holographic display shifted to show psychological evaluation reports. Enhanced soldiers retain human intelligence and tactical awareness, but their emotional responses have been severely modified. They experience no fear, no hesitation, and no mercy. They will protect the colony at any cost, including the lives of colonists if those lives interfere with mission completion. Sarah felt her blood run cold. They'll kill civilians? Enhanced soldiers prioritize mission success above all other considerations. If colonists compromise tactical operations through panic or interference, enhanced soldiers will eliminate those obstacles. However, statistical analysis suggests civilian casualties will be minimal if colonists remain in designated safe areas during combat operations. The casual way the computer discussed killing innocent people made Sarah want to vomit. But the alternative was letting the alien beasts massacre everyone in the settlement. At least with humanity's monsters, some people might survive. "There's one more thing," the computer added. "Enhanced soldiers cannot be deactivated once awakened. Their biochemistry has been altered to prevent capture and interrogation by enemy forces. After 48 hours of continuous activation, their modified organs will begin shutting down. They have enough time to complete one mission, and then they die." Webb stood up abruptly and walked to the far side of the chamber. Sarah could hear him being violently sick behind one of the equipment banks. She couldn't blame him. The Prometheus Protocol wasn't just a military contingency plan. It was a moral event horizon that humanity had crossed in the name of survival. But as she looked at the containers holding 48 modified soldiers, Sarah knew she was going to activate them. The Vorthak Empire had brought war beasts to slaughter her people. Humanity would respond with war beasts of their own. "Begin activation sequence," she ordered. "Activation sequence requires dual authorization from Settlement Director and Security Chief. Director Webb, please provide vocal confirmation." Sarah looked across the chamber at Webb, who was wiping his mouth with a shaking hand. "Marcus, I need you to say yes. Our people are going to die if we don't do this." Webb closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, his voice was steady but hollow. "I authorize activation of Prometheus Protocol assets. God forgive us all." The chamber erupted into activity. Automated systems began draining the preservation fluid from the containers, while robotic arms extended to attach neural interface cables to each enhanced soldier. Sarah watched in fascination and horror as the creature's eyes snapped open, revealing pupils that had been surgically modified to gather more light in combat conditions. The first soldier to fully awaken was one of the hunters. It sat up in its container with fluid grace, its enhanced muscles moving with predatory precision. Its gaze swept the chamber until it found Sarah, and then it spoke in a voice that was recognizably human despite the physical modifications. "Security Chief Chen, I am Hunter Unit Alpha. My designation is Marcus Rodriguez. I volunteered for the enhancement program 2 years ago." The creature's face showed no emotion as it spoke. "I remember my wife, my children, my reasons for volunteering. I also remember choosing to become this thing to protect colonies like New Harmony." Sarah felt tears she hadn't expected streaming down her face. "Rodriguez, I'm sorry." "Do not apologize for necessity," Rodriguez replied as he climbed out of his container, revealing a body that was a masterpiece of engineered lethality. "The alien threat assessment indicates war beasts bred for colonial assault. We are designed to counter exactly such threats. It is what we chose to become." One by one, the other enhanced soldiers awakened, Each one retained their human memories and personalities, but those traits had been wrapped around a core of absolute dedication to mission completion. They showed no fear of death, no hesitation about violence, no concern for anything beyond protecting the colony. The leader of the Berserker units approached Sarah with movements that reminded her of a stalking tiger. "I am Captain Sarah Kim, formerly of the 3rd Marines. My unit specializes in breakthrough assault against fortified positions. The enemy's numerical advantage is irrelevant if we can eliminate their command structure." A shadow unit materialized beside Sarah without making a sound, its skin displaying adaptive camouflage that made it nearly invisible even in the bright chamber lights. Lieutenant James Chen, Special Forces. "No relation, Security Chief. My team handles infiltration and assassination. We can be behind enemy lines within the hour." The largest of the enhanced soldiers, one of the Titans, had to duck to avoid hitting the ceiling as it stood. Its voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Sergeant Major Elena Vasquez, formerly of the 1st Armored. My Titans are designed to engage targets that standard weapons cannot harm. We will handle the alien ships directly." Sarah felt a mixture of awe and revulsion as she looked at the 48 enhanced soldiers. They were her people, volunteers who had given up their humanity to defend colonies they would never see. But they were also something that shouldn't exist: human beings modified into living weapons. "We have full tactical awareness of the current situation," Rodriguez reported. "Alien forces have established a containment perimeter using approximately 300 war beasts, while their command ships maintain orbital support. Standard colonial defense protocols would result in settlement destruction and total civilian casualties." "What's your assessment?" Sarah asked. "Victory is probable but not certain. War beasts are formidable opponents with natural armor and enhanced aggression. However, they appear to rely on technological control systems rather than independent tactical thinking. If we can disrupt their command structure, their effectiveness will degrade significantly." The Shadows were already checking their equipment, preparing for immediate deployment. Their modified anatomy allowed them to interface directly with the settlement's sensor networks, gathering intelligence about enemy positions and movement patterns. "Enemy forces are maintaining static defensive positions," one of the Shadows reported. "No patrol activity, no reconnaissance. They are confident in their overwhelming numerical advantage. This confidence is a tactical weakness we can exploit." Kim nodded grimly. "Standard breakthrough doctrine. My berserkers will create multiple distractions to draw war beast response. The Shadows will penetrate enemy lines during the confusion and eliminate the alien commanders. Once command structure collapses, the hunters can pick off the leaderless war beasts." "What about the ships?" Webb asked, having returned from his illness looking pale but determined. Vasquez smiled, and the expression was terrifying on her enlarged features. "We handle the ships the old-fashioned way. The Titans carry shaped charges designed to breach starship hulls. We board their vessels and destroy them from the inside." Sarah realized she was watching the planning session for humanity's first interstellar war. Not the diplomatic first contact they had dreamed of, but a brutal fight for survival against an empire that saw humans as vermin to be exterminated. "When do we move?" she asked. "Immediately," Rodriguez replied. "The enemy has given us until dawn. We use the remaining darkness for positioning and initial strikes. By sunrise, either New Harmony stands free or we all die protecting it." As the enhanced soldiers prepared their equipment and weapons, Sarah felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders. She had just unleashed 48 living weapons created from human volunteers who had traded their humanity for the chance to defend their species. The Vorthak Empire had brought war beasts to destroy humanity's first colony. They would soon learn that humanity had war beasts of their own, and unlike the alien creatures, human monsters fought not from programming or control, but from choice. They had chosen to become nightmares, so that other humans could continue dreaming of peace among the stars. Rodriguez paused at the chamber exit and looked back at Sarah. "Security Chief, you should know something. We remember being human, but we are no longer human. When this mission is complete, we will not be coming back to New Harmony. Our biochemistry will not permit it. We are weapons deployed for a single use." Sarah nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. "Tell the colonists," Rodriguez continued, "that Marcus Rodriguez and his 47 companions chose to become monsters so that they could remain human. It is a good trade." With that, humanity's hidden defenders vanished into the night, moving toward a battle that would determine whether human beings had any future among the stars. Sarah stood in the command center, watching the external cameras sweep the darkness beyond New Harmony's perimeter. The alien war beasts remained motionless at their positions, perfect killing machines waiting for the dawn signal to attack. But now, somewhere in that same darkness, 48 human nightmares moved toward battle. "All civilian personnel have been evacuated to the central shelters," Webb reported, his voice still shaky from what they had witnessed in Section 777. "Emergency bulkheads are sealed. If those things get through our defenses, the core habitat can maintain life support for 72 hours. Sarah nodded absently, her attention focused on the tactical display. The enhanced soldiers had dispersed across the settlement's perimeter with military precision. Red dots marking the shadows had already vanished from the sensors, their adaptive camouflage making them invisible to both human and alien detection systems. "Contact from Hunter Team Alpha," the communications officer announced. "Audio only." Rodriguez's modified voice crackled through the speakers. "Security Chief Chen, we are in position. Thermal imaging confirms alien war beasts are not fully biological. Significant cybernetic enhancement detected in neural control systems. This explains their perfect coordination." "Can you disrupt their control signals?" Sarah asked. "Negative. The control technology is too advanced for field modification. However, we have identified the primary command structure. 3 alien commanders position themselves at equal distances around the perimeter, each controlling approximately 100 war beasts through direct neural interface." A new voice joined the communication channel, Captain Kim from the Berserker units. "Standard decapitation strike protocol will be effective. Eliminate the commanders, and their controlled units will lose coordination. My team is moving to engagement positions now." Sarah felt her heart racing as she watched humanity's first interstellar battle begin. On the settlement's main screen, she could see the Vorthak command ship resting beyond the circle of war beasts, its hull gleaming under the alien stars. "Movement detected," the sensor technician announced. "Unknown contacts approaching alien positions from multiple vectors. Whatever's out there, it's moving fast and staying low." The first indication of battle came from the northeastern perimeter. One of the alien commanders suddenly collapsed, its elongated skull crushed by a massive fist. The 12 enhanced soldiers of Shadow Team had struck with surgical precision, their modified anatomy allowing them to move through the rocky terrain without triggering the aliens' motion sensors. The war beasts under the fallen commander's control immediately began showing signs of confusion. Their perfect formation wavered as they received conflicting neural signals. Some began attacking each other, their cybernetic control systems malfunctioning without proper guidance. "First commander down," Rodriguez reported with clinical precision. "Proceeding to secondary target." But the surviving alien commanders were not helpless. Sarah watched in horror as the Vorthak ships overhead began launching support drones, small but heavily armed craft that swept the area with powerful searchlights. The drones' weapons charged up with an ominous whine. "They're adapting faster than expected," Webb observed grimly. "Those drones will hunt down our enhanced soldiers." As if responding to his words, one of the hunter units suddenly appeared on the external cameras, running across open ground with impossible speed. The alien drones immediately focused their attention on the target, energy weapons tracking the enhanced soldier's movement. The first drone fired, its beam weapon carving a molten trench through the rocky ground where the hunter had been standing a split second earlier. But Rodriguez was no longer there. His modified reflexes and enhanced musculature allowed him to move in ways that seemed to violate basic physics, changing direction mid-stride and leaping over obstacles that should have been impossible to clear. Fascinating, Dr. Patel breathed from her scientific workstation. The enhanced soldier's reaction times are at least 3 times faster than baseline human normal. Their modified nervous systems process threat assessment and response commands almost instantaneously. The hunter reached one of the pursuing drones and leaped impossibly high, his clawed hands finding purchase on the craft's hull. With surgical precision, he tore through the drone's armor plating and ripped out its power core. The machine crashed to the ground in a shower of sparks. Across the perimeter, similar scenes played out as humanity's enhanced soldiers engaged the alien forces. The berserkers lived up to their designation, charging directly at groups of war beasts with terrifying aggression. Their modified biochemistry flooded their systems with combat stimulants that eliminated pain and amplified their already enhanced physical capabilities. Sarah watched one berserker, formerly Captain Kim, tear through a pack of 3 war beasts with her bare hands. The alien creatures were massive and armored, but Kim's enhanced strength allowed her to punch through their natural protection. Her claws, hardened through genetic modification, could slice through the war beast's cybernetic implants, severing their control connections. "Second Commander eliminated," came the report from Shadow Team. Remaining war beasts showing significant coordination breakdown. Estimate 30% of enemy ground forces are now combat ineffective. But the battle was far from one-sided. Sarah watched in anguish as one of the hunters took a direct hit from a drone's energy weapon, the beam tearing through his enhanced torso. But instead of falling, the enhanced soldier continued his attack, his modified physiology allowing him to function despite injuries that would kill a normal human. "Hunter Unit 7 down," Rodriguez reported without emotion. "Wounds are fatal, but he has approximately 12 minutes of combat effectiveness remaining, redirecting to high-value target assassination." The wounded hunter turned toward the remaining Vorthak command ship and began running straight at it, his damaged body moving with mechanical determination. Sarah realized he intended to board the ship and cause as much damage as possible before his enhanced organs shut down. "Titans moving to final objective," rumbled Sergeant Major Vasquez's voice. "We're going aboard their ships, all Titan units. Remember your training? Find the reactor cores and make sure these bastards never threaten another human colony." Sarah watched 12 massive figures emerge from the settlement's defensive perimeter, each one carrying weapons designed to breach starship hulls. The Titans moved with surprising grace despite their size, their enhanced musculature allowing them to leap directly from the ground onto the hulls of the Vorthak ships. The alien vessels immediately began evasive maneuvers, but they were not designed for aerial combat while landed. Energy weapons fired wildly as the Vorthak crews tried to dislodge the enhanced soldiers, but the Titan's modified skin could absorb significant energy damage without permanent harm. Vasquez reached the primary command ship first, her modified hands punching handholds directly through the hull plating. She moved across the ship's surface like a mountain-climbing spider, completely ignoring the defensive fire that scorched the air around her. "Hull breach initiated," she reported. "Beginning internal assault." What happened inside the alien ships remained invisible to the settlement's cameras, but the results were clearly visible. Explosions began erupting from within the vessels as the Titans systematically destroyed critical systems. The command ship's lights flickered and died as its power grid failed. Meanwhile, the ground battle was reaching its conclusion. With 2 of their 3 commanders dead and their technological coordination disrupted, the surviving war beasts were no longer an organized army. They had become individual predators, dangerous but manageable. The enhanced soldiers exploited this advantage with ruthless efficiency. Hunter units used their superior speed and intelligence to isolate individual war beasts, while berserker units finished them off with overwhelming aggression. The shadow units moved through the battlefield like ghosts, eliminating any alien survivors who tried to establish new command positions. "Final commander located and eliminated," Rodriguez announced. "All war beast control systems are now offline. Remaining enemy ground forces are operating on basic predatory instincts only." Sarah felt a surge of hope as she watched the last organized alien resistance collapse. But her celebration was cut short as she noticed the timing display on her console. The enhanced soldiers had been active for over 30 hours. Their modified biochemistry was approaching its designed failure point. "Rodriguez, what's your unit status?" she asked. "Hunter units are experiencing Stage 2 degradation. Motor control is decreasing, but cognitive function remains optimal. Estimated 18 hours of combat effectiveness remaining." 18 hours. The enhanced soldiers were burning through their modified lifespans to protect the colony. They were trading their existence for humanity's future among the stars. The final Vorthak ship exploded in a brilliant fireball as Vasquez completed her mission. The massive Titan emerged from the wreckage, her enhanced body covered in burns and alien blood but still functional. She looked up at the settlement's cameras and gave a thumbs-up gesture before collapsing to her knees. "Titan unit's mission complete," she gasped over the communication channel. "All enemy vessels destroyed. Command structure eliminated. New Harmony is secure." As dawn broke over the alien landscape, Sarah found herself looking out at a battlefield covered with the remains of the Vorthak invasion force. 300 war beasts lay motionless among the rocks, their cybernetic control systems severed by humanity's enhanced defenders. But the cost was becoming apparent. Of the 48 enhanced soldiers who had emerged from Section 777, only 23 were still functional. The others had either fallen in combat or succumbed to the biochemical breakdown that was the price of their modifications. Rodriguez appeared at the settlement's main entrance, his enhanced body showing the effects of prolonged combat stimulation. His modified features were drawn with exhaustion, but his eyes remained alert and focused. "Security Chief Chen," he said formally. "Mission accomplished. New Harmony is secure from immediate alien threat. However, long-range sensors indicate additional Vorthak forces may investigate the loss of contact with this fleet." Sarah met him at the airlock, accompanied by Webb and a full medical team. "Rodriguez, we need to get you and the others to medical. Maybe we can find a way to extend your operational lifespan." The enhanced soldier smiled, and for a moment, Sarah could see the human being he had once been beneath the modifications. "Appreciated but unnecessary. We knew the parameters when we volunteered. 48 hours of combat effectiveness in exchange for the ability to protect human colonies from threats conventional forces could not handle. But there has to be something we can do," Webb protested. "You saved all of us." "We did what we chose to do," Rodriguez replied. "The enhancement process cannot be reversed. Our modified organs are already beginning to shut down. We have perhaps 6 hours before complete system failure." Sarah felt tears streaming down her face as she looked at the 23 enhanced soldiers still standing. They had sacrificed not just their humanity, but their lives to protect people they had never met on a world they had never seen. "What do you want us to tell Earth?" she asked quietly. "What do you want people to know about what you did here?" Rodriguez considered the question seriously. "Tell them that when humanity faced its first interstellar war, 48 volunteers chose to become monsters so that our species could continue dreaming of peace. Tell them that the Prometheus Protocol worked exactly as designed, and tell them that we do not regret our choice." The remaining hours passed quickly. The enhanced soldiers used their time to help repair the settlement's damaged systems and provide detailed intelligence reports about Vorthak technology and tactics. They worked with mechanical efficiency, completing every task that might help New Harmony prepare for future threats. As the sun set on their second day of activation, the enhanced soldiers gathered in the settlement's central plaza. One by one, their modified organs began shutting down, and they collapsed peacefully, their mission complete. Rodriguez was the last to fall. He looked up at Sarah with eyes that still held traces of human warmth, despite everything they had seen and done. "Remember us," he whispered. "Not as monsters, but as people who chose to become something terrible so that others could remain human." In the days that followed, New Harmony mourned its protectors and prepared for an uncertain future. The settlement's engineers reverse-engineered, captured Vorthak technology, while the scientists analyzed biological samples from the war beasts. What they discovered changed everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. The Vorthak Empire was vast and ancient, controlling thousands of star systems through superior technology and ruthless efficiency. But they relied heavily on their war beast armies and technological superiority to maintain control. Earth's response, when it came through the quantum relay months later, was swift and decisive. The Prometheus protocol was expanded and improved based on the data from New Harmony. New generations of enhanced soldiers were developed, each one designed for specific threats that humanity might encounter among the stars. But perhaps more importantly, the battle at New Harmony had proven something crucial about human beings. When faced with extinction, they did not surrender or despair. Instead, they adapted. They became whatever they needed to become to ensure their species' survival. The Vorthak Empire ruled through fear and overwhelming force, but humanity ruled through choice and sacrifice. When the next Vorthak fleet arrived at Kepler 442b 6 months later, they found not a defenseless colony, but a fortress world defended by enhanced soldiers and equipped with weapons reverse-engineered from their own technology. The second battle lasted less than an hour. Word spread through the galaxy's intelligence networks. Humanity was not another primitive species to be conquered and enslaved. They were something new and dangerous. Creatures who could voluntarily transform themselves into whatever threats they faced. Some species sought alliance with humanity, recognizing them as potential protectors against the Vorthak Empire's expansion. Others retreated deeper into space, unwilling to face opponents who could adapt faster than they could respond. But in the end, the most important victory was not military, but philosophical. Humanity had proven that consciousness was not a weakness to be protected, but a strength to be wielded. The enhanced soldiers who died defending New Harmony had chosen to sacrifice their individual humanity to preserve humanity itself. They became monsters by choice, not programming. And in the vast, hostile darkness between the stars, that choice made all the difference. Sarah Chen remained as New Harmony's security chief for the rest of her life, but she never forgot the 48 volunteers who had given up everything to protect her world. In the settlement's memorial garden, 48 trees grew in perfect formation, each one marking a life sacrificed for humanity's future among the stars. The memorial's inscription was simple. They chose to become what we needed them to be, so that we could remain who we chose to be. And in the depths of space, wherever human colonies spread among the stars, new enhanced soldiers stood watch in hidden chambers, ready to awaken when their people needed protectors who could face any horror the galaxy might unleash. Humanity had learned the hardest lesson of interstellar survival. Sometimes, to preserve civilization, you had to be willing to abandon civilized behavior. The Prometheus Protocol ensured that humans would never again face extinction because they were too moral to fight monsters with monsters. In the end, That terrible wisdom became humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. Not technology or culture or philosophy, but the knowledge that consciousness could choose its own evolution. When faced with an impossible choice between survival and morality, humanity had found a third option: volunteers who would sacrifice their own humanity so that others could keep theirs. It was a solution that only a species capable of true choice could have conceived, and it changed the balance of power among the stars forever.